Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby here with Issa Lopez, the creator, showrunner, director, executive producer of True Detective Night Country. And Issa, I heard that you had already kind of been thinking of writing a murder mystery before you got the call for True Detective. So how much of this story was kind of swirling around in your head before you jumped on board?
Very little. I knew that I wanted to do a murder mystery because I had never done one, but I love, 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 love them. And I thought it would be, how do you even? So to get excited, um to get it going, what I did is I went and took a deep dive in the internets, and I found all those weird mysteries that we read about when we were kids, or you would watch on TV. Like the Bermuda Triangle, the all of those weird stuff. And I ran again into this thing I had read years before about the Dyatlov Pass incident, which is the story of a group of Russian mountaineers that went on a climb and then were found dead some days later in weird circumstances. And the details just didn't make sense together. And they were super, super eerie. So I said, okay, so this is interesting because if we make it into a murder, which I think it was in reality, to tell you the truth, but we don't know. So if I had to explain this, there is so much opportunity to create a fun story, but it takes place in the ice. So and that and my love for Carpenter's The Thing came together, and I said, okay, so a murder where these men die in the ice in this unexplainable circumstances, it will have to be the Arctic. And then that's all I had. I put it away, as you do with ideas, to let them speak to you. Never gave it a second thought. And then some weeks later, I got a call from HBO saying, "Hey, would you be interested in doing True Detective? And if so, what would you do with it?" And I was like, "Oh, the Louisiana Bayou and the ice and the heat and the cold and the day and the night and the men and the women." I didn't know it was going to be women, but then it just started to boom, boom, just to go. It was the missing ingredient that just made that flourish.
Yeah. It's a great setting for the isolation is a great setting for it. And those two women, they're so in addition to the isolation, these women are very haunted, in many cases, literally haunted,
Literally.
by trauma, and death. Why was that kind of an important uniting factor for you to have for those two characters?
Well, it's always been a very, very integral element of my storytelling, the fact that we carry the death. You don't shake the people you lose or you move out of trauma. You have it with you. And there's ways to do it that allow you to continue actually living. And there's ways to do it that will prevent you from being in your life and in your body and with the people around you. And because the setting is the ice, and the ice is the ultimate metaphor of things that are trapped in coldness. It just, again, just started to talk to each other and come together. The fact that they are carrying these frozen ghosts that are right there with them, but they're not allowing themselves to turn around and have a dialogue the way that you don't do with your pain.
Mm. I was really fascinated with the way the series kind of toes this line between the logical and the supernatural. And depending on who you are and what you're bringing as a viewer, you could find a logical explanation or a supernatural explanation for things. What was your kind of approach there? Did you ever want to come down firmly on one side or the other?
No, never. I definitely very much wanted to never come firmly on either. But I was very careful and mindful of allowing a full line for the two of them. So if you are more of a Danvers in a way, you do have an absolute A, B, C, D said true logic that will explain every single event. But even Danvers, at some point, opens herself enough to admit that there's a possibility of more happening here than what we can perceive in our normal lives or just with our minds, logical minds. So there is also a full line that will go through the supernatural story, and it will pay all the way to the end. In every single one of the big mysteries and little mysteries. Big mysteries like how the men died out there, or little mysteries of how did Annie's tongue appear under that table? Was it taken by the women because the women
Right.
kept it to honor Annie? And this is the moment when they put it down to say it's time for the truth to come out, for the things that weren't said to be said, or is it um, or is it Annie's ghost that dropped that tongue there and she kept it? You know, it's up to you to decide. But maybe, and this is my favorite, you can take a little bit of both.
The tongue was the one my friends and I were debating the most that really had everyone questioning
I mean,
everything.
if you want to go with the logic, of course there was a story, which is who finds for the first time Annie's body, and it's the community. So
Right.
they can keep her body, and they know that it's going to be brutalized even further with what's coming to her, but they can keep her tongue. You know, that was left for them. It's interesting. So if you
Hmm.
want to go logically, you can do that. There's another explanation too.
Yeah, well, the two actors playing both of those sides, Jodie Foster and Callie, they're, you have the ultimate veteran actor with Jodie, and then you're really introducing to many audiences, I'm sure, Callie in this role. What were mixing their energies like on set?
That was an incredible thing, and it was a scary. It wasn't a scary decision because, I mean, the toughest job when you're directing performers is to even the tone. That's where you really have to keep your ear very, very attentive to where the tone is wavering. And it's tough to keep the tone even when you have someone that is a virtuoso, that not only is a virtuoso but has not 10,000 hours of practice but probably 50,000 hours of practice. And then you have this newcomer who is an enormous talent and can access emotions and reactions and truth, but doesn't have the practice. And the way that you direct a performer with that experience is just the story has to be clear. That's all they need. So you talk about where the character comes from. We both knew it. Jodie and I had been working together on those scripts. And the fun about having someone with Jodie is that you'd think you know everything about that, but then you're doing the scene. And I would go and come to her and I said, but it hurts to say this because this and this. And she would go, oh, let me try that, immediately. But with Kaylee, for her to reach the emotions, and she's incredibly rational, but it would be through emotion. So I would have to, whisper in her ear, and we would have to clash with each other to bring this anger in concert. It was like, this is how we did it. We were not really clashing. We were clashing in energy for her to reach that and then be able to do it. And then Jodie could, very clearly graduate to match that. So it was a feat, and it took some time to get there. But once they created a dialogue between the two characters, it was seamless, and I could simply take a breath and a step back and let them do their thing.
Yeah, it was really nice to watch. I think one of the aspects I think of Navarro's character that is so fascinating and heartbreaking to watch is this disconnect she feels from her indigenous heritage, where she doesn't, the aspect of finding her true name is so central. And obviously, injustices towards indigenous women is a huge central theme here in this show. Why, if you can just talk about that aspect of her character, why was that important to have in there?
Well, I think that if I was going to have a character that was through and through Inuit, Inupiaq, which is a specific tribe that is predominant in Northwest Alaska, then this woman would know what was really going on. So I wanted to have the respect of having one of the detectives that is going to figure out what happened to belong to the culture, because otherwise it's just two outsiders coming to solve the crime. And we've seen that story. We've seen that story. So I wanted someone that belonged to the community, that was part of the community. However, she didn't have access to the truths of the community. And that in itself, instead of being a problem, became an advantage, because that's the arc. And the moment that you have a character that has a tool she can't use, it's such an interesting position, and it's so enriching to the writing and to the movement of the emotions in the character.
I think, beyond just the fact that they're women, the two characters here really kind of feel like an inverse of the season one detectives from True Detective. Was there a conscious effort to sort of make them a mirror?
Yes, completely and absolutely, because that first season is so good, is so amazing, and it says everything it needs to say. So much so that when it was conceived, there was not even a thought about having a second or third season. It was self-contained, and so there's nothing to add to that. But what you can do is, this is that, but reversed. And then different things happen and different things emerge. And you have the feeling and the atmosphere, which are the most important things, and the depth of character. But it's a different story and it's different characters. They're moving in different directions. So where Ross Cole believes in nothing, and he's a nihilist, and Hart has deep family and moral issues. What we have with Danvers and Navarro is the problem of faith and belief. Faith is not necessarily in God, it's faith in the things that move beyond us and above us. And one of them is holding so tight to the concept that there is nothing more than this, because if she opens up, she's going to crack. And the other ones knowing that the currents are right out there and they're pulling her to take her away, and both characters fighting that creates the series, basically.
I don't know if you kept up with this, but there were, because of maybe callbacks or Easter eggs for season one, as well as the mystery, the kind of spiritual aspects of it, there was so much theorizing online after every single episode debuted. Were you keeping up and reading of all the fans' crazy
Loosely,
theories?
because it's, you cannot dive into what people, I was honored and excited about the degree of obsession, because it was insane, but you have to be careful to distance yourself, because the truth is that series is so beloved and so central to almost a belief system in a sector of the audience. It was interesting to see that, the reason that I put um, a, a Travis Cole, which is the father of the main character of the first season, in the first episode, is because the series happens in Alaska. And Cole's father lived and died in Alaska. So it would be so weird to be doing True Detective and not have any mention of that. So it's a natural thing to do. Then the internets went aflame with the fact that, oh, that means that Cole is going to be in the show. Why would that mean that Cole is going to be in the show? Is above me. It's like, it's just the same. Well, all I'm saying with the spiral, and it's just the same universe, If the supernatural is knocking at our door, it leaves a symbol, and it's the same symbol in both, because it's the same beyond. So if we're in Alaska and one of the characters had a connection, that connection exists. And then people in the end were upset. Some people, a few of them, were upset that Cole didn't show up. But that was not me, kids. That's you, Anyways, it would have been very weird. fuck is Cole doing in Alaska? That doesn't make sense. Having the father does. So, but it was amazing to see everybody catching both that and the little clues that I left for my own mystery in the show that nobody would. I was definitely not ready for the fact that no clue was overlooked. And a lot of clues that were not there were found. Like, oh, the blue color means this and the orange color means that. And I was like, wow, that's fascinating. I didn't code it that way, but it was amazing to see.
Yeah. Well, if you were ever offered another season of True Detective,
I was
what
offered and I
oh
took
you
it.
well what would kind of be the biggest lesson from Night Country that you're going to take with you moving forward in your career?
I think there's two main things. One is do know that people are going to watch these episodes two, three, four times and are going to like every book that I put in the back out of focus is going to be identified and taken as a clue. So the degree of obsession, I have to be aware of it. And if there's blue and orange or any like everything is going to be interpreted. So rather than it being accidental, let's play with it, you know? That's one thing. The other thing is what I did with Night Country, which is follow my instincts and tell the story that I would love to see on TV. It works. So don't doubt yourself. You know, the things that connected emotionally for me and that I fought for, the little bit of supernatural, the coming and going between those two, the depth of emotion, that works. And don't worry because people will see it and perceive it and receive it. And those were the ratings that we had and the reviews, and I'm profoundly thankful for those. So those are the main lessons that I learned.
Mm. Well, we're certainly looking forward to seeing how they are applied in the future and seeing what comes next. So, Issa, thank you so much for joining me and talking True Detective, and it has been wonderful.
Thank you. Bye.